morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy, Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we're taking a look at Week 6. We're talking the big news, the big injuries. We're going starts and sits, and we'll also be making some game picks. So we've got a great episode lined up. Go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, and good morning to everyone here in the chat. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening. If you're listening on the podcast version as well, again, guys, you can find the Wake and Take podcast via the link in the description. Guys, we've got a lot to talk about today, so we're just going to go ahead and get right on into it. We are going to start with just the news stories, and a lot of them are going to be injury dependent, but we have two news stories that aren't. And first, it'll be, as kind of talked about already a few times this week, but Drake May is expected to make his first start against the Houston Texans. Yesterday on the Market Watch, we talked about why I would be buying into the Patriots right now before the start piling up. Now, this might be a tough one. This might be a tough sledding game for the Patriots. The Texans do have a pretty stingy defense. They're not the best in the world, but they have some playmakers on pretty much in every area of the defense that will make it a little bit difficult for Drake May to get into a good part of rhythm. But I do think it'll be a really good learning opportunity for him. And I think we'll start to see the kind of identity forming around this team. And we'll learn a lot. We'll definitely learn a lot. So I want to get in on the Patriots before it's too late. I do think ultimately that this will be a good move for them. I know that Drake May obviously has a lot of things to work on, but he also brings a lot of good to the team as well. And mostly his intangibles and just the way that he plays ball. I think it will kind of help this team just be fired up and play a little bit better. You know what I mean? So I'm in on the Patriots. Drake May will be starting this week. They're probably not going to win this game, but I think they could actually keep it a little bit closer than people are suggesting, and it'll be a fun one. It'll just be fun to watch. So I would recommend getting your Patriots before it's too late, especially the pass catchers, Demario Douglas and Jalen Polk. I think those will be the two that we're kind of hoping out for on the a little bit of a late season breakout, if you will, as Drake May gets more acclimated. I think those two wide receivers in particular will be really, really big benefactors. It's kind of what we saw in the preseason, as those were the guys he was looking at. They're making a lot of noise throughout camp and all that. Already have some good, heavy targeted performances as well, both Douglas and Polk. So I would just be looking at trying to get those guys before it's too late. Next, we have Aiden O'Connell making his first start of the season. He will be replacing Gardner Minshew, and I'm not a big fan of it. I'll just go ahead and admit it. I like Gardner Minshew. I think that, I don't know. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's totally fine, and I just think that this Raiders team is in a bit of disarray, and I don't think Aiden O'Connell is going to bring anything better to this team than Gardner Minshew did. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a little bit worse. It'll be different. He's a different quarterback, so it does open up a few different parts of the game plan, but still, he's not the best game manager in the world. And at the end of the day, he's just kind of fine. Aiden O'Connell is. And we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. He is, spoiler alert, part of our starts and sits. I will be saying to start or to sit Aiden O'Connell this week. If you were thinking about it, even in Superflex leagues, I wouldn't really recommend going his way. Really tough matchup, and it's not like he's put up fantasy points really before in his career either. But either way, he will be making his first start of the season. My only qualm with this is just like if you're the Raiders and you are always in the back of your head thinking of starting Aiden O'Connell at some point, I don't understand why you wouldn't start the season that way. Just because last year, I mean, he ended the season in a good way. I mean, they kept lots of games competitive, pulled off some really good wins, and a lot of that was the way he was playing and also Zamir White and just the offense finding an identity. To go away from that identity and pull the plug on Aiden O'Connell in the offseason and go to Gardner Minshew, only to then pull the plug on Gardner Minshew and go back to Aiden O'Connell, it's just bad management. It's just bad management. You've killed the confidence of AOC, and now you're making him come back into a turmoil team. So I'm not really a big fan of this decision and the way it played out, but we'll see, right? We will see. Aiden O'Connell making his first start. And lastly, Spencer Rattler will also be making his first start this week in place of the injured Derek Carr. I'm going to be honest. We'll talk about this some more in the start sit part of the show as well. But I am not very excited about Spencer Rattler. I know a lot of people are. But what I learned from the Senior Bowl is that Spencer Rattler is not pro ready. I do not expect him to go out there this week and play that well, especially against a really, really good Buccaneers team. I think that his play style is not very conducive to success, especially at the NFL level. He struggled in college. He's going to struggle in the NFL. He did not look good at the Senior Bowl. I know a lot of people say he looked good at the Senior Bowl, but from what I remember, he did not. In fact, he was one of the kind of bad quarterbacks there, in my opinion. Now, things did change. At the beginning of the Senior Bowl, he was one of the worst quarterbacks there. Everyone could agree with me there. Then we started getting to like the interview portions of the Senior Bowl, and that's when Spencer Rattler really started to make a name for himself. He has a lot of moxie, lots of charisma, and that did rub off well on a lot of analysts there. That led them to start believing that Spencer Rattler was a good quarterback just based on his confidence in interviews. But throughout the Senior Bowl process, he only locked onto his first read. He went to running very, very quickly. He gave up on plays very, very quickly. And he wasn't even really that good at scrambling. Again, this is a practice scenario. But he just looked like he did in college, which was a player that has all the intangibles in the world, all the skills, tons of talent, but doesn't play well. He just didn't play well. And he did get better, a little bit better as the week went on, but still nothing improved from the standpoint of locking onto his first read and giving up to scramble more often than not. I don't think that is good in the current Saints offense. Right now, it is a little bit of that Shanahan system, and a quarterback like Spencer Rattler doesn't necessarily fit in that offense. He doesn't have the arm talent that Derek Carr has, and he's not the pocket passer that Derek Carr is. So I'm not a big fan, really, of Spencer Rattler, at least in this matchup against the Buccaneers. Like I said, he did start off terribly at the Senior Bowl and then start to marginally improve as the week went on. Still not one of the better quarterbacks there. Like I said, after the Senior Bowl, Carter Bradley was really the only one that impressed me at all. And that was more so I just had no, what do you call expectations for Carter Bradley. So when he looked decent, I was like, I'll take note of that. But Spencer Rattler was nothing but disappointing to me throughout the week. So maybe he'll get better as the season goes along. But I do definitely see I would be firing up the Buccaneers defense this week. I'm not expecting good things from the Saints offense. I think it's going to be very hard for him to get the ball moving in this game. I really do. Now, he could prove me wrong. I know that obviously he's had now a whole rookie camp since the Senior Bowl, a whole regular training camp, preseason action, opportunities to build and develop in his game. But to me, he's still a rookie in an offense that doesn't really fit his play style. And his play style is one that generally is not good at the NFL level. So I'm going to be one of those people kind of fading Spencer Rattler. We'll see how that turns out for me. We're still picking him up, right, in Superflex leagues. Like, we need quarterbacks here and there, but still, I'm not expecting much at all in this Buccaneers game. So that'll lead us now. Those are kind of the big news stories. So we'll just go ahead and now bump into the injuries portion of the show. This is a little bit of a practice update. Yes, a lot of these practice updates are from Wednesday practice, so you have to monitor these. But it's good to get ahead of injuries because the hottest pickups on Sunday morning, we start talking about here on Thursday. So definitely start paying attention to these players that are missing practice and kind of go from there. Now, I didn't have enough time to go ahead and list them, so I'm just going to be going through ESPN's injury report with you guys here. Darnell Mooney was limited on Wednesday, so he's probably going to be fine. It was a knee injury that popped up, so definitely something to keep your eye on. With Darnell Mooney being limited, he's more than likely going to play, but it's very possible that he's less involved in the game plan, and maybe it's a bit more Drake London, Kyle Pitts, or even a Ray McLeod. So just keep your eye on his practice status throughout the week. Limited means he'll probably end up playing, but with it being a knee injury that we haven't heard much of, it is definitely something to raise some alarms, but probably fine. Going over to the Ravens, Rashad Bateman didn't practice Wednesday due to a groin injury. So he finally, starts to get on fantasy radars again and picks up an injury. Rashad Bateman probably not going to play. Groin injuries tend to sideline players for at least a week. So I would be looking to see who gets activated. In fact, it looks like Deontay Hardy is also listed as questionable. So that's two wide receivers that are questionable as of now, one of which being Rashad Bateman, who didn't practice. So if either of those miss, I'm assuming Rashad Bateman misses, Devontae Walker may finally get his first start at the NFL level. So definitely someone to maybe go ahead and start stashing just in case he does get activated. And we've talked about Devontae Walker a few times. He's just a deep threat, right? Like he's a really good deep threat. They do utilize that in their game plans a lot, and they have a shootout matchup this week. So Could be someone interesting to keep our eye on. Devontae Walker with Rashad Bateman probably out. Going to the Bills, Khalil Shakir did not practice again due to his ankle injury, so look for him to probably miss another week with his ankle. James Cook picked up what is kind of being speculated as turf toe, which is awful news. Awful news. He did not practice Wednesday. I'm assuming he's not going to practice today either. And probably, I'm assuming, the way I'm playing this right now, with it being a rumored turf toe, it is a foot and toe injury on ESPN, but I've seen some reports of turf toe. He's probably not going to play. So go ahead and pick up Ray Davis if he's still out there. We've kept him on the waiver wire episode every single week, literally since week 1. Since going into the season, we've been talking about getting Ray Davis because as much as we like James Cook, which, by the way, we were selling a couple weeks ago, he is undersized. And the Bills have clearly shown that they do not like to utilize him truly as a bell cow. They do like to mix in Ty Johnson. They do like to mix in Ray Davis. And I felt that would increase throughout the season with injury upside. Now James Cook is not practicing. It's looking like we might get a Ray Davis flex play this week, which I think could be huge. Go ahead and pick him up if he's still out there, and pick up Ty Johnson as well. Curtis Samuel is also not practicing, so that's now Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel looking to be out. So it might be another week where we could fire up a Keon Coleman, a Matt Collins even. But hopefully, Dalton Kincaid has his big game. We hoped for it last week. This is another shot. Now, on the Panthers, Deontay Johnson is a limited participant with an ankle injury again. So just keep your eye on that. Last week, he was kind of limited with this, did play, but didn't have a good game. We could see a lot of the same, especially in a tough matchup against the Falcons. Deontay Johnson limited. And Tommy Tremble did not practice with a concussion. So we could look at a Jatavian Sanders performance here. So pick up Jatavian Sanders if he was dropped in any of your leagues. We talked about him in yesterday's Market Watch. We're actually trying to trade for Jatavian Sanders. So if he's actually available on the waiver wire, we want to pick him up as well. Looking like he may be the only tight end suiting up this week. Going to the Bears, looks like there is no one. There is no one on the offensive side of the ball that we need to be worried about. So we'll now jump to the Bengals. Mike Gesicki has picked up a hamstring injury. He is not practicing on Wednesday. I'm assuming with it being a hamstring injury, he will not practice all week and probably miss this game. So look for Eric All to be elevated and maybe even a little bit of an Andre Yoshivas game. Mike Gesicki not practicing with a hamstring, and neither is Zach Moss. Zach Moss is not practicing with a foot injury. So definitely keep your eye on that. If Zach Moss is not good to go, will be a huge Chase Brown game. Big Chase Brown game. So fire him up. Maybe even send out some offers for Chase Brown as he's kind of cheap to acquire. And he's finally, making some noise for himself the past couple weeks. Chase Brown looking like a smash start this week with Zach Moss probably out. All right. David Njoku moving to the Browns. Listed on the practice report as out and did not participate with knee and ankle injuries. This guy's not playing. David Njoku has not been able to stay healthy all season. Picked up yet another injury this week after returning. Definitely going to be sidelined this week. You can go with Jordan Akins, I guess. He's going to get you like 3 points, but still, he's the backup there. And then Nick Chubb, he picked up a limited practice. So trending towards being able to return this week. If he doesn't, it'll definitely be next week. But I just want to go ahead and let you guys know to start shopping your Jerome Fords for basically anything right now. For basically anything. I think this will be a split. I know a lot of people out there saying that they are out on Nick Chubb. The opinion here on Wake and Take is we are in on Nick Chubb. He's just a different animal. I know that generally it takes some time for running backs, but Nick Chubb is just a whole different beast. He's Nick Chubb. I think he'll at least be fine. I believe that like 70% Nick Chubb is better than half the running backs in this league. So I think Nick Chubb will be fine. I think he'll at least get 40% of the opportunities upon his return. So I would be looking to sell Jerome Ford for like a second or even a third or two if I could right now. Or maybe swapping for another running back, maybe like a Chuba Hubbard or like a backup running back, like a Benson or a Wright or a Corum, something like that. But Nick Chubb looking to return sooner rather than later. Moving to the Cowboys, nothing, no big updates really on the offensive side of the ball. Just Brandon Cooks still on IR. Josh Reynolds did not practice with a hand injury. He has generally played through on the Broncos. Moving to the Broncos. Josh Reynolds, hand injury, did not practice Wednesday. This is a wide receiver that generally plays through injuries. He's been playing through an Achilles injury all season anyway. But with this also being a hand injury, that's tough to play through as a wide receiver. So keep your eye on that. If he is out, we could see Troy Franklin maybe get some more targets. I don't know. I mean, for the most part, it's been Cortland Sutton, but Troy Franklin has been getting more and more involved as the weeks have gone on. So take a little bit of a speculative ad on Troy Franklin with Josh Reynolds maybe out. Also, Audric Estime did return to practice. They've opened up his 21-day window to come off injured reserve. So keep your eye on Audric Estime. He has missed his 4 weeks. I would assume he misses this week, but Audric Estime looks to return soon. So maybe try to get some Javonte Williams or Jaleel McLaughlin value while you still can, because I think that when Estime comes, he'll get involved too. This is just a messy backfield. Looks like there are no offensive players on the Lions we really need to worry about. So let's go ahead and go to the Packers. Wow, Christian Watson was practicing on Wednesday. He was in the open media portion of practice, so keep your eye on Christian Watson. I know he was dropped in a lot of leagues. I don't think he should have been. I think we do, if he was, go ahead and pick him up and maybe even buy Christian Watson. This is a player I still believe in. I understand he can't stay healthy, but he still does get a decent amount of targets, and he is so hyper athletic that he is still pretty good for fantasy. So Christian Watson, looking like he may be returning this week. If he doesn't, definitely next week. Looks to be that this ankle injury wasn't sidelining him as long as people were thinking. Maybe getting less Dontavian Wicks usage than we hoped. Luke Musgrave is listed as questionable, but doesn't say why. But looks like Tucker Kraft has just completely taken this tight end room away from Musgrave. On the Texans, Nico Collins landed on IR. Hopefully Tank Dell finally breaks out. I don't know. Huge concerns with Nico Collins landing on IR with his hamstring injury. Hopefully that gives him enough time to heal. It probably will. But just a big L moment. Nico Collins was just playing so well. So to pick up that hamstring, very disappointing. But that's the name of the game. Also, Joe Mixon still not practicing with his ankle injury. So we may get more Cam Akers still. But it looks like Dameon Pierce is returning, as Dameon Pierce was limited this week at practice. So I dropped Cam Akers in my FFPC league. I think it's probably time to maybe move on from Cam Akers. I couldn't even get a fifth for him. I tried to get a fifth for him, and I couldn't even get that. So either way, Dameon Pierce looking like he'll be returning, but Joe Mixon still not practicing. He may be out yet again. On the Colts, Michael Pittman picked up a random back injury, completely out of nowhere. He is doubtful to play, and in fact, a lot of reports are out there that he is an IR candidate. So very concerning. Get your Adonai Mitchell if he's out there for sure. If Alec Pierce still hasn't picked up, get him. And in deeper leagues, it may even be worth getting Ashton Doolin. I know it sounds crazy, but it really might be. Also, Josh Downs didn't participate on Wednesday. So the Colts are really going to be without their wide receivers, it's looking like this week. Jonathan Taylor also didn't practice on Wednesday, so we might have Jonathan Taylor out again. However, Anthony Richardson did pick up a limited practice. Anthony Richardson was expected to play last week up until Sunday, so I think he will be returning this week, and we'll talk about him a little bit more. But in the running back room, Trey Sermon also didn't participate. So we may get who is it? Is it Evan Hull? There's someone else, Tyler Goodson. There's Colts running backs that we maybe need to be taking our eye on, as both Sermon and Jonathan Taylor didn't practice. Go get your backup Colts running backs. Moving on to the Jaguars, Travis Etienne limited, so just kind of keep your eye on that. It is a shoulder injury. It's possible we may just get more Tank Bigsby, which is honestly not what Etienne managers want to hear. Evan Ingram limited, so hopefully he makes his return this week. Gabe Davis also limited. Hopefully he's able to play. For the most part, though, Evan Ingram is the big story here. Try to get some value for Brenton Strange while you can. Evan Ingram is a huge part of this offense. I think when he returns, everyone else will be a benefactor of it, but especially Evan Ingram. I would try to get Evan Ingram while you can. No updates on the Chiefs as they had Monday Night Football, but just keep your eye on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He did have some limited practices last week, so it's looking like he'll be able to return. Now, of course, they are on a bye this week, so that also plays into why there's no practice updates. But still, get your Clyde Edwards-Helaire while you can. Moving on to the Raiders, lots of players did not practice. Zamir White, Jacoby Myers, DJ Turner, and, of course, Devontae Adams. Michael Mayer also remains away from the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm Michael Mayer. away from the Raiders is very concerning, especially with what's going on in the Devontae Adams. Maybe Mayer ends up being traded as well. Maybe he's a little disdained by the Brock Bowers draft pick. I don't really know, but Michael Mayer, personal, remains away from the Raiders. Definitely some interesting stuff going on there. Devontae Adams definitely not going to play for the Raiders. But Jacoby Myers and Zamir White not practicing, concerns again. We were hoping with Zamir White out that Dylan Law would be used. He wasn't, so very concerning. Looking like it's just going to be Amir Abdullah and Alexander Madison again. And in the wide receiver room, if Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams is out, Trey Tucker becomes a really good streamer. So just keep your eye on those practice updates throughout the week. And just go ahead and pick up Trey Tucker right this minute. Literally right now. Literally right now, go pick up Trey Tucker. Chargers. Justin Herbert limited. He'll be fine. Gus Edwards didn't practice. Ankle. It's happening. It's happening. Kimani Vidal-Sassoon, baby. Get Kimani Vidal. I have been not giving up on this player all season. In fact, this is one of the ones that pisses me off the most, is why are people giving up on Kimani Vidal? Nothing changed. Everything is going according to plan regarding Kimani Vidal. Maybe we wanted him to not be a healthy scratch, but he's not a special teams running back. He's just not. He's a running back. He's a grinder. With Gus Edwards out, he will step in. So Kimani Vidal must add. Get him this very second. This very second. Go get on your phone and add Kimani Vidal. Do it. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. I may be able to start him this week. Also, DJ Chark doesn't expect to have his practice window open this week, so still going to take some time as it retains to DJ Chark. But Kimani Vidal-Sassoon on the way. Rams on a bye, so just keep your eye on Jordan Whittington. If he was dropped anywhere, pick him up. Also, Cooper Kupp looking like he'll be able to return after this bye week. So send out some offers for Cooper Kupp while you still can. Dolphins also on bye, so just, if Jalen Wright was dropped, pick him up. Maybe send out some offers for Achane, as I think he'll be fine. Big update here. Tua Tagovailoa. Mike McDaniel said Monday that Tua is scheduled for expert consultation during the bye. So hopefully we get another update here. We've had some updates that he's met with neurologists and stuff, and none of them have really recommended he should retire, which means he should be back. Everything we're hearing is that he should be back. So kind of keep your eye on this. Tua, I would be buying. We talked about it. We're buying all Dolphins, but especially Tua right now in Superflex. Aaron Jones, week to week with a hip injury. So get your Ty Chandler, although he did not look that good. Also get your Myles Gaskin in deeper leagues. And then keep your eye on TJ Hawkinson practice status. He did pick up a limited practice last Friday. So hopefully get some limiteds this week and maybe even gets activated. This is your last chance to get TJ Hawkinson as well. Moving to the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson did not practice. So if Antonio Gibson is available, get Gibby. He could be huge with Drake May. Kendrick Bourne limited, so probably fine. KJ Osborne limited, so probably fine. And that is it for the offensive side of the ball. It looks like Antonio Gibson is the big add in New England. On the Saints, Kendre Miller picked up a full walkthrough on Wednesday, so it's looking like he will be activated soon-ish. Definitely pick up Kendre Miller. This is another player we have not given up on here. Lots of people given up on Kendre Miller because of what was said during the offseason. But the good news is he still made the team despite being in the training room. So I think we should just give up on that hate from what Dennis Allen said and just take a chance on Kendre Miller, as he's an awesome handcuff behind an old running back that gets way too much usage. Which, by the way, Alvin Kamara didn't practice on Wednesday due to hip and hand injuries. A player, again, we've been talking about it. We love Alvin Kamara, but he's up there in age and gets so much usage. We've been saying to sell him, and we've been saying to get Kendre Miller. Get him if you can. Get Kendre Miller and sell Alvin Kamara while you can. Rashid Shaheed did not practice on Wednesday due to a hip injury. Definitely concerning, but probably wasn't going to be good with Spencer Rattler anyway. And then, as mentioned at the top of the show, Derek Carr doubtful. Spencer Rattler will be playing. Also, Taysom Hill is still not practicing. So fire up your Foster Moreaus and maybe your Jamal Williams if Alvin Kamara is out. The Giants. Malik Neighbors is still not practicing. He has to pick up a limited practice today. So hopefully he does. Definitely keep your eye on him. He is still listed as day-to-day and did work on the side yesterday, but not listed as an actual practice participant. But hopefully he's trending towards returning. Definitely keep your eye on that. Devin Singletary also trending to return, but don't give up on Tyrone Tracy. I believe that Tyrone Tracy earned a little bit of a split share when Devin Singletary does return. He looked awesome. I think this will be a split backfield going forward, even with Singletary looking to return. But definitely keep your eye on Neighbors. He can still play this week. He just has to pick a limited practice up today. So keep your eye on Malik Neighbors today, especially. Aaron Rodgers looks to be fine with his ankle injury. On the Eagles, Devontae Smith, full participant, so looking like he will be returning. A.J. Brown taken off the practice report. A.J. Brown also looking to return this week. And that should do it. That should do it on the Eagles. On the Steelers, Jaylen Warren listed as doubtful, but did pick up a limited participant. So probably not going to play, but getting out there limited is always good news. Cordero Patterson ruled out. Fine. But definitely keep your eye on Jaylen Warren for sure. 49ers, they have a game tonight. Looks like no one really. Ricky Pearsall still not playing. Chris Conley listed as questionable, but we don't really care. We do have a new kicker, Matthew Wright, I believe. So, hey, if you're looking for a kicker, Matthew Wright, 49ers new kicker. Seahawks, same thing, game tonight. Nothing on the offensive side of the ball that we really care about. Buccaneers, Rachaad White, limited. Trey Palmer, not participating. Jalen McMillan, limited. So keep your eye on those receivers. Looks like Jalen McMillan will be returning. We talked about picking him up on the waiver wire episode, so I would recommend picking him up. Rachaad White, limited, probably fine. Probably fine, just something to monitor throughout the week. Titans, no one we care about. Commanders, Brian Robinson did not participate due to his knee injury. Big deal. This was kind of what happened last week too, though. He didn't really practice all week and then still made it to game day, but he really didn't look good. Yes, he got the 2 touchdowns, but he was clearly hurt, was not efficient at all. So definitely keep your eye on Brian Robinson. He may have re-aggravated his knee, but this is a big game for them. You know, they will probably utilize him, but look for him to be utilized in a limited fashion again. And look for Austin Eckler, who picked up a limited practice on Wednesday, to be a big part of their game plan going forward. That is all the injury updates I have for you guys. Lots and lots of injuries. Before we get to the start-sit part of the show, go make those notes that I gave. Go pick up those players I recommended. And I will play a little bit of an ad break here. Let's hear about DFS Dominator and how it may help you make a lineup not only for this weekend, but tonight as well.
DFS getting harder every year, but we're here to make it easier with the DFS Dominator because I know a lot of optimizers keep coming out. Oh, our optimizer. What about this optimizer? But that optimizer. Well, we have a cash game optimizer that leverages the projections from Dario, Billy, the award-winning projections at PlayerProfiler.com, and builds the best lineups for cash games that have both upside and stability because that's what you want. It's a couple clicks, boom, boom, boom. You get the best possible lineup for your cash games. But for tournaments, traditional optimizers don't work. That's why we have a Lineup Genius, which takes you through the process of building lineups the way they should be built. Which quarterbacks you want to be overweight on, then building stacks, then setting runbacks, then optimizing, and generating up to 150 lineups that you can easily import into DraftKings, into FanDuel. That's the DFS Dominator. It's only $45 a year, not a week, a year. Just go to Player Profiler, click on the DFS Dominator from the menu, and you won't be sorry.
Get that DFS Dominator for sure. I love building lineups in that thing. It's the best. All right, guys, here we go. We're getting into the start sits. We are getting into the start sits, and I see a lot of questions. Hopefully we have time for them back at the show, but we are rolling. We are rocking and rolling this morning. I want to go ahead and say, I know a lot of you guys have tuned into our Sunday episode of Wake and Take. It has come from above to stop doing the Sunday episode of Wake and Take. We will only be Monday through Friday again. So I'm throwing the start sits into this show, our Thursday weekly preview. We just want to make the start sit show by Matt in the morning kind of the bigger thing. We also have another show added on Sundays. There was just too much going on Sundays that we didn't need yet another start sit show. So we're throwing it into today's episode and going forward every Thursday. No more Sunday Wake and Take. Your mornings are free. You don't have to see my face 6 days a week, only 5. But as this works, as those of you may be familiar with this format, it's pretty standard. Start sits, 1 start, 1 sit per position. I'll also give you 3 flex plays. A lot of it gut feel, but some analysis behind it as well, of course, as always. And for the most part, we try to stay away from some of the top end players, but sometimes I'll throw them in here just in case, because I know a lot of people are starting to question some studs. So we'll start at the quarterback position, and it's Anthony Richardson. We are starting Anthony Richardson versus the Titans. And you might be saying to yourself, Jason, Michael Pittman is probably out. Josh Downs is probably out. Why the hell would we start Anthony Richardson? Because the pass catchers do not matter. The pass catchers absolutely do not matter for Anthony Richardson. He's not a good passer anyway. I think without Jonathan Taylor, it's also looking like without Trey Sermon, without Michael Pittman, without probably Josh Downs as well, Anthony Richardson's going to have to be a superhero in this game. They're going to ask him to run. They're going to ask him to throw. But for the most part, they're going to ask him to run. And the Tennessee rush defense is not good. They've allowed the 8th most attempts. They're 15th in yards allowed, and they've already allowed 3 touchdowns throughout the season. They're also the worst pass defense in the league. They've allowed the most yards total amongst any team in the entire NFL. So I think with Anthony Richardson resting up last week, with no weapons, with no running back, he's going to be asked to do everything in this divisional must-win game. I think Anthony Richardson has 100 rush yards and at least 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. Get yourself some A-Rich into your lineup. Don't overthink it. I know a lot of people have dropped Anthony Richardson in single QB. I know a lot of people have started to bench him in super flex. Not this week. Against the Titans, this is an awesome matchup for him. We're firing him up. And I don't know if I'm ever really going to be able to say this. Start Bijan Robinson. I know a lot of people have started to get off of him for sure. And this is maybe unfair to throw him in a start sit. I mean, for the most part, you're going to be starting Bijan Robinson. But I just wanted to use this opportunity to tell the fantasy community to chill the F out. He hasn't had a game under 10 points yet. He's been totally fine. Hasn't had a ceiling performance yet because they've been in passing shootouts. Well, guess what? This week, we're getting the Bijan Robinson ceiling game against the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are 30th in rush attempts allowed, 27th in rushing yards allowed, and have allowed 9 rushing touchdowns, the most in the entire league through 5 weeks. 9 rushing touchdowns in 5 weeks. Yes, you heard that right. This is an awful rush defense. So we are firing up Bijan Robinson for sure. We're throwing him in our DFS lineups. He is a must start. This is the RB1 of the week. I'm calling it. Get Bijan Robinson into your lineup. You already were. I just want to make sure that you do it because I'm hearing a lot of people fading him now, selling him. Do not. In fact, buy him everywhere. Get Bijan Robinson in your lineups. Get him in your DFS lineups. He's going to be a stud this week. One of the best running backs in the league this week, if not the best. Get Bijan fired up this week. Next, we have at the wide receiver position, Tank Dell. And we'll see, right? I still believe in Tank Dell. I still believe in Tank Dell, and they're taking on the Patriots, who are 21st in pass attempts allowed, 25th in passing yards allowed, have allowed at least a touchdown a game, and only have 2 interceptions through the year. So they're, a decent pass defense, but most of the case a bad pass defense and a bad defense in general. I think without Nico Collins, obviously Stephon Diggs is going to be a big part, but I think Tank Dell will too. And I know last week he wasn't, but this is a week where they can actually build a game plan around Tank Dell and no Nico Collins. And I think that Tank Dell will have an awesome game against this Patriots team. I've already talked about briefly that I believe this game will be a little bit more competitive than people are suggesting. And I think Tank Dell will get his regular usage, at least from like last year, be a big part of this game plan. And just remember that CJ Stroud said that Tank Dell is his favorite wide receiver in the league. I still believe in that. I know we haven't seen it much this season, but I believe in Tank Dell. I think this is a good opportunity for him to turn things around. I know a lot of people are going to be looking to bench him going forward, but I think you should fire him up this week. I think Tank Dell against the Patriots is a match made in heaven. Get him in your lineup. Tank Dell, start him. And before the next one, we got a super chat, so I'll just go ahead and do that. Mike says, would you start Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy? Kyler Murray. And then Chase Brown over Jerome Ford. Yes, it looks like there's no Zach Moss, so Chase Brown should have a huge game. Moving to tight end, we will be starting Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft against the Arizona Cardinals. You guys were probably going to be firing up Tucker Kraft based on the performances of late, but the tight end part of this segment is always the hardest, finding a start and sit at this position. It's just so barren. So we're just going to go with Tucker Kraft, the big riser, and we're going to say keep riding the wave. 24.8 points last week, 17.3 before that, and he's got a shootout going up against the Cardinals this week. Luke Musgrave is listed as questionable. Tucker Kraft against the Cardinals in a 47.5 Vegas point total game, I think becomes a must start in this one. Fire him up one more week. Keep riding that wave until otherwise. Now we'll be moving on to the sits. And this is unfair. Not many of you are going to be doing this, but for those of you that were in Superflex leagues even, do not start Aiden O'Connell against the Steelers. Just do not do it. Aiden O'Connell last year only averaged 12.1 points per game. That was 25th amongst quarterbacks. Really was not good. For the most part, his stat line was like 200 yards and a touchdown and a turnover or two. Like he really wasn't that good. I really don't understand why there's so much hype around Aiden O'Connell. But this is the second lowest Vegas point total on the board. Only 36.5 points expected versus the Steelers. Jacoby Myers banged up. Zamir White banged up. Devontae Adams not playing. There is absolutely zero reason to start Aiden O'Connell this week. Absolutely zero. Going up against the Steelers, who are awesome. They are fourth in interceptions. They are second in points allowed, eighth in yards allowed. These guys have been incredible this year. And I think that TJ Watt may literally injure Aiden O'Connell. Like, it is just, this offensive line is not good right now. There's no weapons for him. I think he's just going to be absolutely trapped in the pocket. This is an awful time to switch your quarterback. Just an awful time. This is not going to be a good game for Aiden O'Connell. I know a lot of you are maybe picking him up to stream him in like Scott Fishbowl or something. Just don't do it. Start a wide receiver over him in your Superflex spot this week. Be bold. I would start most wide receivers and running backs over Aiden O'Connell this week in your Superflex. In single QB, this isn't even a thought. You're not starting him. But in Superflex, I know there's some people thinking about it. Do not do it. This is an awful matchup. There's no reason to. And this is where we get bold. This is the boldest one of the week. And I'm worried about it. In fact, it may not even have to be a decision, given he may not even be playing after we go through the injury report. But I'm going to say sit Alvin Kamara against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this one could burn me. I'm not going to lie. But I wanted to get brave here. I wanted to get brave. This is as brave as it gets. Sitting the RB1 right now in a matchup with a backup quarterback, right? Generally, backup quarterbacks lean into the run game. But like I said, I firmly do not believe in Spencer Rattler in this matchup. The Buccaneers, especially Vita Vea, very, very hard to run against up the middle. Now, of course, Alvin Kamara can catch some passes and stuff like that. That will help. But like I said, when I watched Spencer Rattler at the Senior Bowl, he very often went to his first read or scrambled. And I know that Alvin Kamara could sometimes be the first read, but I don't know. I really think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be doing everything they can to make Spencer Rattler beat them. And I think it's going to be tough for every Saints playmaker. I really do. This is a playoff team going up against a rookie quarterback that was a project. Let's face it, Spencer Rattler was a project. I know that he was like a 5-star recruit, and when he came into college, people were saying he'll be the number 1 overall pick, but he didn't do shit in college, had to transfer. He was not good. And he was also not good at the Senior Bowl. I really think this is going to be a tough matchup for him. And I just want to sit Alvin Kamara at the running back position. I think there'll be like total stacked boxes. I think there'll be a spy on him out of the backfield. I think it's going to be very tough sledding for this whole Saints offense. And a lot of that is going to be Alvin Kamara because, tough matchup. But yes, I also do understand that, I don't know who I'd start over Alvin Kamara, and PPR leagues are still going to be there, but I basically what I'm saying, floor game for Alvin Kamara is what I'm expecting in this one. And if you have some better options, which I doubt you do, go ahead and sit him. You're probably still going to start him, but I just wanted to go crazy here and say, sit Alvin Kamara. We'll see. Also, going crazy here, ride in the wave. We're sitting Brian Thomas Jr. against the Chicago Bears. What happens after breaking out? Generally, when people get very, very excited about someone, they disappoint that very next week. And not only that, he's going up against a tough Bears defense. The Bears are very, very stingy against the pass. Only one wide receiver so far this year has had a 100-yard game, and that was Nico Collins. Stephon Diggs only had like 40 yards. Everyone has struggled against this Bears defense, and Trevor Lawrence is going to have a bad game. Now, can Brian Thomas have a good game when Trevor Lawrence is having a bad game? Yes, but I don't think the chunk plays that have gone Brian Thomas Jr.'s way will be there this week, and I don't think that he's going to get the volume to be able to be sustainable as an option this week, even in full PPR. His 5-6 targets that he's getting fairly regularly is just not going to be enough, because none of those are going to be 40, 50-yard touchdown bombs like they have been throughout this season. The Bears so far have only allowed 2 passing touchdowns through 5 games. They're 6th in passing yards allowed and 13th in passing attempts allowed. They're a very stingy pass defense. It's going to be very tough sledding for Trevor Lawrence, which will make it tough for Brian Thomas to have a big game this week as well. I think there are probably some better options than him this week. And at the tight end position, we're sitting Hunter Henry. The Texans are good against tight ends, but also Drake May liked his wide receivers more often than not throughout the preseason and training camp. Like I said, we're trying to get Demario Douglas. We're trying to get Jalen Polk on our teams. I think Hunter Henry is kind of the one taking the hit here. Picking a tight end to sit is always the hardest part, but we're going with Hunter Henry against the Texans. Not really feeling it this week. Go another way if you can. And our flex plays this week, we'll make it brief. Our 3 flex plays this week: Jalen Tolbert versus the Lions, Jamison Williams on the other side of the ball against the Cowboys, and Allen Lazard against the Buffalo Bills. All 3 of those wide receivers we're throwing into our flex because of shootouts. Allen Lazard should be good. Aaron Rodgers all fired up going to his buddy. Jalen Tolbert coming off a big game, now going up against the Lions that may be able to stop CeeDee Lamb a little bit, but not Jalen Tolbert. And then J-Mo. Honestly, J-Mo probably doesn't deserve to be a flex play anymore, but he was drafted to be a flex play. So sometimes I'll throw him in here because I wanted to talk about J-Mo, but we're throwing him into our lineup this week as well. No questions asked. So those are our starts and sits. Now is the fun part. We're going to briefly go over every game in week 6, talk about my expectations, and giving my picks for the game. Let's see. Pulling up our pick'em. Pulling up the Vegas odds. Let's go. Sharing my screen now. All right. Here we go. Tonight's Thursday Night Football. San Francisco heading to Seattle. San Francisco favored by 3.5. And if you look at the Vegas odds, they're expecting 49.5 points, expecting a total shootout. I will take the under on the 49.5. That is pretty high. But I will say the Seahawks win this game. The 49ers have just not looked very great recently. The Seahawks also, they've lost 2 in a row, but still, they're playing very good football right now. And I'll go ahead and say this. I'm feeling the DK Metcalf game. Feeling the DK Metcalf prime time against the 49ers game. 100 yards and a touchdown, DK Metcalf in this one. Feeling the DK Metcalf game. We'll see how that turns. But yeah, fire up all of your Seahawks in this one. I'm feeling a pretty good game from the Seahawks, honestly, and the 49ers too. You're obviously throwing them all in there. But should be a fun game. Very excited for it. This is a great Thursday Night Football game. Next we have Bears-Jaguars. Bears favored by 2.5. And yeah, we'll give it to them. Jacksonville just not playing well. They started to show some signs of life last week, but still, I think it's a tough matchup for them against that defense. The Bears trending in the right direction at home. I think they'll cover, beat the Jaguars here. Green Bay versus the Cardinals. That was one of the higher Vegas point totals of the week. And I'll say it, I think that this one might be the most fun matchup. The Cardinals-Packers is always a fun game. 5-point spread is huge, so we'll say the Cardinals cover. In fact, I'll give the Cardinals the win, too. I think the Cardinals win this game. Playing good football right now. Not great football, but good football. I think that they'll be able to win this game. Definitely cover the 5. I think it'll come down to the kind of last minute or something like that. But yeah, Arizona. Feeling their victory over the Packers in Green Bay. Keep your eye on Marvin Harrison Jr. And the freak, that is not true. 2 years ago, DK Metcalf had like 90 yards against Charvarius Ward. I remember because I started him and we were watching him on Trade Gods live. It was when Trade Gods was on Thursday, and I needed DK Metcalf to do well, and he absolutely gave it to Charvarius Ward. So I do want to say that. Anyway, Cardinals beating the Packers. I'm feeling it. Watch Marvin Harrison Jr. and keep your eye on if Christian Watson returns. Colts heading to Tennessee, favored by 1. I'm going to give it to him. Like I said, I'm feeling the Anthony Richardson game. Really feeling the Anthony Richardson game. And I think that that'll be conducive to success. Yeah, give me some A-Rich. Give me some A-Rich in that game. But 1 point spread is kind of close to me. I think it'll be a fun one. Houston heading to New England. Favored by 7. Like I said, I think that this game will be closer than the consensus is saying. I think that the Patriots can cover. Texans win the game, obviously, but I think that we see this kind of a lot. A lot of times when these quarterbacks come in, that there's not enough tape on them. They go in and they play well enough. They keep it competitive. And I think that the Patriots team will also just be fired up. They finally had the change at quarterback that they've been waiting for. So I think that it'll be good. I think that this will be a very competitive, honestly low-scoring game. I think this one will be dragged into the mud, and that's why I think the Patriots will cover. Texans still win this game, as they do, but should be a fun one. Yeah, fire up your anyone, really, actually, but hopefully Tank Dell. We're hoping for the Tank Dell game. Good point, Robster. I'm just looking at the @ It says @ Chicago. You are right, though. The 9:30 a.m. is in London. They're the London Bears now. Totally missed that one. They are the home team, though, in quotes. Tampa Bay heading to New Orleans, favored by 3.5. That's an easy one. Tampa should win by at least a touchdown. Like I said, I really have some bad hopes for this New Orleans Saints team this week. I am not in on the Spencer Rattler sweepstakes. Totally out. We'll see if that burns me, but totally out of the Saints this week in particular. I think the Buccaneers will be able to really just dominate this one. Eagles hosting the Browns, favored by 8.5. We'll give it to them just because the Browns have been playing terribly, but man, is that a big spread. That is a huge spread. But yeah, with Deshaun Watson back there, they're not covering that. Deshaun Watson's just so washed, just so bad at football. They're not going to be able to do anything against the Eagles. Plus, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are back, so they're at full strength. Give me the Eagles at home, crushing the Browns. Ravens favored by 6.5 against the Commanders. The Commanders cover, but the Ravens win. Lamar Jackson fired up going up against Jaden Daniels. Everyone is saying that, Daniels is the new Lamar. Lamar hates hearing that. I will say the Commanders cover. I think that this will come down to that, like a last-minute field goal, a Justin Tucker vintage game winner or something. But 6.5, easy to cover for the Commanders. They've just been playing so well recently. I can't see them being beaten by a touchdown, but I do still see them falling short against the Ravens. They're just not like the Ravens are like basically a Super Bowl contender. And while the Commanders are hot right now, they're more so like a playoff hopeful team. They're not quite built the way that Baltimore is. I think the Ravens give it to them, but I don't think they win by a touchdown. Chargers versus Denver in Denver. Favored by 3. Denver winning 3 in a row. But we're going to go Chargers here. The Chargers just play complete football, and it's boring. It's boring football. But I think they'll win this one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of analysis on this one. Just kind of feeling the Chargers. I know the Denver has won 3 in a row, and they're at home in this one. But the way the Chargers play football, I think it's going to be difficult for the Broncos to keep up. Or not really keep up, but just kind of stay in the game. It'll be a slow, methodical football game. And I think that those are a little bit harder for a team like the Broncos to win. So we're going to give it to the Chargers. Steelers heading to Vegas, favored by 3. I think that's an easy one. This Raiders team just has no playmakers right now. And I'm not an Aiden O'Connell fan, at least in terms of being able to go up against this Steelers defense and TJ Watt right now. Just no way to me. I think the Raiders lose this one by way more than 3. I think the Steelers and Justin Fields run away with this one as well. Give me the Steelers. Detroit heading to Dallas, favored by 3. Yeah, I think they could do that. They might win by exactly 3, but we're going to go with the Lions here. Taking out the Cowboys in Dallas, not London, in Dallas. And yeah, I mean, shootout. What's the Vegas total here? Lions, Cowboys, 52. So the highest on the board. We'll go over 52. We'll say both teams end up in the 30s, a 35-31 or something like that. Give me the Lions. Should be a fun game. Fire up everyone you have in this game. As mentioned, Jalen Tolbert, J-Mo, both flex plays this week. Falcons versus the Panthers. Falcons favored by 6. How about the Falcons favored by 20? Falcons should crush the Panthers. Andy Dalton coming back to earth. Deontay Johnson banged up. Falcons defense playing well. Falcons offense finally coming to life. Total domination from the Falcons in this game. Bijan Robinson ceiling game. Bengals heading to the Giants in New Jersey. Favored by 3.5. We'll give it to them as well. Looking like Malik Neighbors may not be playing, but even if he does, I still think that the Bengals should win this game. As mentioned last week, I know they ended up losing to the Ravens, and it was not their fault. They should have won it. I said it after they crushed the Panthers. I said the Bengals are here to stay. They are alive. Like, they are in playoff form right now. They are playing very, very well. Jamar Chase, a big part of that. And even if Neighbors plays, that may fire up Jamar Chase even more, right? But still, Bengals, I think they easily win by more than 3.5. I know the Giants have been kind of playing well and pulling off some upsets here or there, but Bengals, they're in form right now, giving it to them. And Bills heading to the Jets, favored by 2.5. I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of those games where the Bills win by like 40. I think they will just go out there, score a touchdown, score a touchdown, score a touchdown, score a touchdown, score a touchdown. Josh Allen's ceiling game in New York, I guess in New Jersey. Yeah. Let's go. Those are our picks. Those are our picks. That should do it, guys. I guess let's go ahead and answer some questions here in the chat. Let's see what we got going on. DK Metcalf big game was 59. What am I thinking of then? I remember him doing really, really well. 2021, 65 yards and a touchdown. October 3rd. I think that's the one I was thinking of. So maybe, yeah. No, because Ward wasn't there yet. What? It was this 9-targeter, 2022. I guess it was only 55 yards, but the 7 receptions is what I was thinking of. I just remember him being fed early and often in that game. Yeah, it was that one. It was in December. It was in Seattle. 7 of 9 for 55. Not great, but not bad either. I think that's going to be something like that. You are right, though. No touchdown. I don't know what I was thinking of. But yeah, questions. Lots of chats here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Would you start Dawdle or ETN? I guess Dawdle. Looking like he's banged up. Hasn't been good. Dawdle's got that fun matchup against the Lions. Should hopefully get a rushing touchdown. You need a new stud running back. Any help with what to trade? You have Breece Hall, Rashad White, Deontay Johnson. I would maybe trade Deontay Johnson. You have good running backs, dude. You have really good running backs. You have Jonathan Brooks, Tony Pollard, Breece Hall, Rashad White, Chase Brown. I mean, you've got good running backs. You even have Tank Bigsby. You're probably fine, actually. Let's see. Would you trade Mason and Metcalf for Walker and Devontae Adams? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker way over Jordan Mason and Metcalf over, well, Devontae Adams maybe not over Metcalf, but I mean, Kenneth Walker is just such a stud. I would do that. I think Devontae Adams will be fine rest of the season, hopefully. With Nico out, would you start Dalton Schultz? Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to sell him right now because I think that there is some hype around him, but hopefully he plays well and I could sell him even more. Yes, pick up Adonai Mitchell, cap for life. Pick him up. You could drop Aaron Rodgers, Quincy. You could drop Aaron Rodgers for Tua. Drake May or Deshaun Watson and Scott Fishbowl? Drake May. Would you trade someone like Jake Ferguson for Tank Bigsby? No. You should try for a lot more than Tank Bigsby with Jake Ferguson. Maybe a Rashad White plus or something with the way the market's going. But, yeah, find yourself like an actual startable running back, not a backup. Would you trade Cortland Sutton for Trey Tucker? No. Or is it Tucker Kraft? If it's Tucker Kraft, yes. Matty Kiwoom Sunday morning show is good. Yes, tune in to Matty Kiwoom on Sundays. All right. You just traded Christian McCaffrey for Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, 2 seconds and 3/3. What are your thoughts? I like it. I like it. I mean, hey, you're 1-4 right now. You said you don't need Christian McCaffrey. Jonathan Brooks, good dynasty running back. Trey Benson, good dynasty running back. The 2 seconds is awesome. Awesome stuff. You're offered Chuba Hubbard and Jaden Reed for Amon-Ra. Give me Amon-Ra. Stash Warren, Corum, or Wright. Man, that's a tough one. I mean, I would say both Jalen Wright and Corum over Warren. I know that's a hot take. I'm just not a Warren guy. I think Corum and Wright both have higher upside. I might lean Corum. Just because it's not like, I don't know. Jalen Wright looks awesome. I love him, but it's looking like it's not happening. I don't know. Devon Achane getting banged up right before the bye week. Raheem Mostert getting healthy right before the bye week. It's going to have to happen again, and I don't know. Whereas with Corum, it's just Kyron Williams that needs to go down. JSN or JMO in full PPR? JMO for me. I'm the JMO stan, though, so that may not make you happy. Would you trade Puka, Juwan Johnson for Benson, Burton, Wandale? I think you can get more for Puka. You just traded Breece Hall for Christian McCaffrey. I would say that is crazy. I would definitely say that is crazy. I think you could have gotten a lot more. I think you could have gotten Christian McCaffrey plus, especially since you had Braylon Allen on the bench. I would have rather just had Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. You're also looking to trade Marvin Harrison Jr. and Achane for Tyreek Hill. Yeah, no, I would much rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Achane over Tyreek Hill. Now, if you're trading Hill for those two, that's awesome for you. But yeah, no, I actually don't like those moves. Yeah, if James Cook is out, we're definitely firing up James Cook or Ray Davis. Will Shipley a mustache? Yes. Would you trade T. Higgins for Cooper and Brooks? Yeah, I think so. I think when Jameis Winston comes in, Amari Cooper's going to be awesome. And if that's Cooper Kupp, also going to be awesome when he returns from injury. But that should do it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another fun episode of Wake and Take. I'm glad we got to do a huge primer of Week 6. Hopefully that helps you guys out in setting your lineups and getting prepared for this week's action. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified, as tomorrow we'll be going live with Alan Seslowski at 10 a.m. Eastern here on the Player Profiler YouTube. Got to be a fantastic episode. So excited to chop it up with him. Alan Seslowski coming on tomorrow morning. Going to be a good one. So make sure you get ready for that. Everyone, have a terrific Thursday. Go Seahawks and have a fantastic rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.